I choose to believe that everyone serves a purpose on this earth. Mine serves
I
a
believe
warning
the
to
children
others.
are our future.
What were you saying?
Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Continue,
Yeah,
Mr.
continue.
Gallant.
Yeah, mine is to be a warning to others, apparently.
Well, I guess since he's already talking, why don't we
Yes.
go right into Mr. Gallant? Why are you here,
Explain.
sir? Explain to us why you're on this little show of ours.
Yeah, so I made this
Name,
game.
rank, and serial number. Let's go.
I made this game. It's called I Get This Call Every Day. I released it back in December, and basically it sort of came out of this place of frustration from my day job. Oh God, I'm going into autopilot. I've done this part so
That's
so
good.
long
We'll
sto-
take a break. You talk. We'll come back.
No press copy here. Give us the real scoop.
Exactly.
So the game is a lot like Mass Effect. In that you talk. It's a-
Wait, was there
That's-
a romance option with that
This is-
color?
This is actually 2020, and Jason will be playing the part of Barbara Walters for this interview.
oh, God.
Go on.
Yeah, keep going.
Tell us the real story.
Yeah, so I made this game. It was not necessarily about my exact job. I mean, a lot of it was heavily inspired.
Right.
But like for the most part, what the hell? Do you guys hear that beeping?
What beeping?
No.
Beep, beep. No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just me then.
That's just the sound of the chip embedded in your skull. Don't go with it. It's okay.
Is that your tinnitus?
Canadian government put it there.
We didn't put it there, yeah.
The government did.
So basically, I got into some trouble because of it, and that's just because my employers at the time, Canada Revenue Agency, we had differing ideas about what exactly it represented. They thought that it kind of made them look bad. I thought it wasn't really about them. So yeah, things happened. I got fired. So I got fired for making a video game, and I don't know. That seems pretty significant to me.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I have too many people fired for making a video game lately. So
Yes. Well, let me ask you a
means
quick
it said
question about
something.
that, and then we'll talk more about the game.
Sure.
Because this was something that I remember we had talked about your game before all of this had gone down,
Yeah.
and there was definitely some. I mean, I think I read the Polygon article that went up a couple of weeks ago. That basically you were interviewed by a Canadian news agency before this all went down.
it's really because of that interview
Yes.
that everything went down.
Exactly. But was that kind of press? Was there noise about your game before this went down, or did all of the noise really reach a sort of din when this after the fact?
I mean, there was positive buzz. I mean, the game was featured on Taku the day it came out. It's,
Right, I remember
oh,
that
nice.
too.
You know, I got coverage twice on GameSpot. One, going over my my Greenlight. I guess you could call struggle. So I mean, the game did get some attention, and none of it really characterized it like, oh my God, look what this guy's saying about his workplace.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of it was like, yeah, I would never want to work in a soul-sucking call center, and that actually, because that.
A lot of people
Whoa.
already know this.
That's yeah.
Yeah, I
That
can't
was
imagine why they thought it was a negative light.
Okay, so I actually had the day that this all came down, it was the same day that the article broke in the Toronto Star. I ended up in a meeting with upper management. They were asking me questions, basically trying to determine whether or not I understood what I was doing when I when I released the game. Basically they knew I'd broken some rules, and they wanted to know if I understood that I had broken them. It was a weird process. And one of the questions they actually asked me was, so what makes this job a soul-sucking experience?
Where do I start?
Have you
I
played
was-
the game?
Maybe you should ask yourselves that question.
I was dumbfounded. I couldn't answer it for a couple seconds. And then it just dawned on me that this person who was asking obviously had never worked on the phones in their life.
Right,
You know?
right.
And so one of the things that I did do, they wanted to make sure that they could have a copy of the game to be played. Obviously, I didn't have a copy on me. It was one of the few
this
days where I
part's
didn't
really
actually
nice.
bring my laptop. So I provided them with a link. I have a secret place on my server where I just stash, builds of the game, and I gave them a direct link. And an hour and a half later, when they called me in to tell me, what their decision was, and that's when I find out that, yeah, it was being terminated. Once they sat me down, they read me the letter, I signed off on it, and so I said, "So what did you think?" And they're like, "Oh, we never played it."
What?
That's the most frustrating part.
Oh my god.
And by that,
I mean, one thing they hadn't asked you, like, we just don't want, we don't care. Like,
yeah. By that logic, though, it's kind of showing the importance of having a game out like this, or just a platform with which to discuss what really is important to you, or what you think about life and work and so on. It's like, is it appropriate to talk about your work or your experiences, or if you had a blog, would this have blown up in the same way, saying it's like, "Oh man, this is tiring work, I get a lot of idiots who call up." It's like, would this have been the same reaction? Are you allowed to, as an employee of any particular place, really, whether you're working in something that is so closely tied with the government or a private corporation, can you talk about just being not happy with the work conditions, or any displeasure you have with the nature of the structure, the treatment? Where is that line? Are we allowed to talk about that?
I mean, the thing is most workplaces where you sign on now will have specific provisions about, what you say about your workplace in social media, in public. I mean, as a public servant, obviously, that's doubly so.
Right.
Yes.
Those are all sort of tied in, not only in sort of ethical, what they call ethical considerations for how you speak about your job in the government. I mean, the thing is that, we represent the government to Canadian taxpayers, so we can't disparage the taxpayers. We, also have a lot of access to confidential information, so there's worries about confidentiality. And so much of it is tied up in that. But like, a lot of that just kind of ignores some very basic human facts, and that, like, call center work is horrible work.
Yeah.
And for reasons that really could be addressed if people cared to. And one of the things that I really feel bad about is, like, the people who maybe could have made a decision based on that, and who could have used it for inspiration to try and do something about these conditions, never actually looked at the game.
Right.
Yeah,
The
because
people
I don't.
who needed to look at it most.
The
didn't look at
the
it.
reality of
we
the,
can just go, oh, we can play and go, oh wow, okay, I'm not gonna work in a call center because wow, this sucks.
Well, actually, if I can say, like, that actually was empathy building for me, because I've been that kid on the line a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, whenever
that
I
teaches me
call up
something,
anywhere and, like, they ask for, like, my bank account number or something like that, I'm just like, I have no idea,
yeah, which
Or
is
the
I
going
put
over
other
stuff.
people through the exact same experience.
Which is
all
one of the
time.
things that I found interesting when I played the game too, because I know there had been people who responded like, "This isn't a fun game. This isn't about winning, or it doesn't have any of the actual, like, mechanical tropes that most games have."
Where was the
However,
unlocks?
It's a game of
With the Gallant.
expression.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's art. It's art imitating life, even if it it's not trying to imitate it exactly.
Right.
But there was a part of me going like, I mean, I did laugh out loud at one part because of this sort of Kevin Smithian kind of attitude of it, where it's like, well, I need your social security number. Well, what's
Nope.
that? I need the full number. What full number? The number for your social security number.
Yeah.
What is that? It's in your wallet. Oh, I have a wallet? Wait, hold on.
yeah.
It's like, it's like, what's your address? Street 1. Give me your full address.
yeah.
Street 1X.
Yeah.
No, we need the full address with
50
your
Birch.
with your PO box
One
and your,
before 50 Birch?
yeah, the one before 50 Birch. What's 50
Well,
Birch?
why do you need that?
Yeah.
At some point, I'm like, who's on first? I don't fucking know. Just give me the information.
I still like the parts where I laugh out loud the most is anytime that you have just the ending, you got fired, big breath, and because like I feel the exact same way playing the game, looking at that screen, be like, all right, supervisor wants to talk to you. I'm like, I wasn't even being that rude.
I pay my taxes. I don't have to put up with this
It's
shit.
like if I knew this was going to happen to me in the game, I would have said a couple extra things in earlier conversation trees.
If I can get fired for being rude, I'm gonna be fucking rude.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's make a business out of this.
Yeah. I think sometimes I want to do a build that just sort of disables the
Getting
the
fired.
sort of the redirects, because what happens is basically the game's keeping track of how many times you've pissed them off, how many times you've broken confidentiality,
Right.
and at whatever point that you hit those, it sort of dynamically flows into one of those endings. So it's
Right.
not like you every time you make an angry choice, you're going to get the bad ending. You can actually piss the guy off a little bit and still get the quote unquote good ending.
Which
Nice.
is a good ending.
Like it's entirely possible. So like, even the last bit, like the last line, if you manage to get to that last line, you can indulge yourself if you haven't pissed him off enough, and
okay.
and you won't. Or maybe you've almost got him on the edge, and you get that last line, and you indulge yourself with that "fu," and it escalates, and you get fired at the very.
I held it in the whole time, but here I'm really gonna go fuck yourself, hang up. and it's weird. You can either role play it as like the first call you receive at the morning when you're okay, or like the last call you receive at like 20 seconds before the call lines close. It's like you're that last motherfucker who just like I always hate calling. Like anything where people are doing the call center work at like the last call of the day.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like, it's 6:25, I can just do this. Because they just pick up their phone and they're like, what?
Yep. I mean, well, it's just because working with the public sucks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I seriously can't do that. I worked in like retail for a little while, and I'm just like, I really don't give a shit if you find what you're looking for. I don't care if you don't come back.
In fact, it'd be better for me.
It's not. I literally, actually, I was you apparently when you sell like electronics, like if you sell a big ticket item like a TV, you don't really make much off of the commission. You make a lot off the commission if you sell wires, memory, things like that, the
Right,
cases, stuff like
right.
that. That's where the money is. So that's the employees want to sell you as much of that stuff as possible. I am less interested in, I guess, making money
Oh, the warranty.
as I am
yes, the warranty
like the
too.
actual like making sure that the customer is happy and satisfied and it's appropriate for them. So I had this one dude come in, he was buying a camera, and he said, all right, well, I don't have a lot of money. So it's like, I say, you could buy the memory stick here and it's kind of expensive, or just go online. It's way freaking cheaper. You can get the same exact thing for like
I hate it when you do that.
60% less. And like, but I'm there losing money in this sale by telling him this. And in the meantime, my wife's working across the aisle, so he walks away. She walks up to me. She says, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, because you were being a good person, which you're
Yeah,
not
it's like,
supposed
that's
to
not my aim.
Yeah,
Isn't
right.
to price gouge these people and try to get everything out of them, which is kind of
again
the
the
opposite of
thing
what
in
they expect.
Going
in
back
commission things.
to the game, like I first lost because of confidentiality, because I was just like, yeah, whatever. He got it. He didn't. He said November 30th. He didn't say the date. Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, keep going. Like, let's not make this conversation irritating.
Let's just get this done with.
Yeah, no, and like, oh fuck. All right.
I didn't jump through all the hoops, before.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask Dave, let me ask you a question about the game and the public reaction to both the stories and the game, because I feel like the one thing that I took away from all the articles and all the press you were getting was, did it seem like at any time the story, like the actual events that happened, sort of took first place over the actual game itself?
I was at first, yes, like when the Toronto Star thing happened, that's kind of where everything sort of got out of my control. And suddenly this game about being frustrated in a call center was an online rant against taxpayers. And
Which.
is completely
that was always the misinterpreted part, right? That
Exactly.
that wasn't your point at all.
and that's what most of the traditional media focused on. And of course, I mean, traditional media for the most part was really just reprinting from a news service at this point. So it was so I couldn't really fault it. Like, it was all just spreading from one source, but it wasn't really like new outlets. Starting up with a bad story, it was
really
just
interested. If they were going to take any kind of angle, they were not going to take a gameplay angle.
Yeah, exactly. So when I started, I kind of shut down a little bit on the day of, and I was getting all these media requests, and I'm really like, I really don't want to deal with a lot of these unless I know that, it's going to be something that I have some say in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's when, some of the outlets that were, some of the outlets that wanted to cover it sort of picked up on this. And so places like CBC, which is another major Canadian news institution, they're like, okay, look, we're trying to reach out to you for this TV thing. I've been looking at your Twitter. I see that you've got these concerns. What would you want to focus on?
Nice.
And so I start seeing this, and I'm like, okay,
Wow.
you know what? Let's work with you.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Because at the end of the day, it's still about you made a game.
With the point.
Yeah, and whilst the worst possible, well, not the worst possible, but the outcome
Then
that
they killed
resulted
me.
from exactly. That's a developer found.
Executed
The
by Canadian
CBC claim another victim.
Thank you. I couldn't find a way to make that joke work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Boris. Let's make sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like the other thing that I found really interesting was after all of the news started coming out, the best part was when you started retweeting people's Project Greenlight reactions. Not
Oh, that
Project
was
Greenlight.
going on well before.
Continued too because they started coming more often.
They really seemed more positive. The more Greenlight comments I got, I mean, Greenlight really, I think once it started passing 50%, the comments also shifted in tone
Yeah.
from mostly negative to
Some
mostly.
of them were really great.
Even some of the negative ones were pretty. There's some doozies.
Any
Yeah.
examples? Like what?
Even if they were negative, they were rather what's the word I'm looking for? Inventive.
I didn't see,
See-
any.
I didn't read these.
Do you
Are
do you
they
have
really
any of
good
them
ones?
that you kept?
I've never saved any, unfortunately. Like I just put them out there, and maybe was hoping like Twitter would archive them. I'm gonna see if the hashtag hits any.
They're great. Yeah, I mean,
No.
if you find any that you want to mention, like if we get to the end of the podcast and we've got a couple you want to mention, because they were really they were quite there were some gems in there.
Nice. Okay.
And I think I think it definitely got people playing the game, which I'm sure you were happy about.
Oh yeah, more people were trying the game. I mean, just after sort of everything exploded with the media, that's when YouTube started to pick up on it, and more Let's Plays started to get done. Things kind of had like a second critical mass when the Yogscast took it up
Yeah.
and did it on their channel. They've got like around 3 million subscribers, so their playthrough is hilarious because literally near the end of the video, one of the guys just gets so frustrated, he just rips his headphones off, throws them on the floor, and just says "fuck you," and just walks off. It's like,
Which is kind of what you're going for.
Success.
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's the best success I could ever hope for.
Oh, fuck you.
So I mean, I'm definitely going to give you a chance to make any closing thoughts you have on this whole event with the game and the past couple of months. But I guess my only question that I have left is: so is your next game gonna be about the plight of the game developer, the Canadian game developer?
I
make this
game
I
every
make this
day.
game every 2-3 years.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, this game made way more than I ever thought it would, and
Yes.
but it already did that by the time it came out. Like I expected, maybe I would get about $20 for it,
Right.
and before everything.
I mean, there's such lovely art in it, though.
I know. I mean, it's such an attractive looking game, isn't it? But it made about $1,300 before everything broke wide, and
Really?
like the weekend.
Called anything out of BioWare rum, you are terrible. That's terrible.
It's terrible by any other standards but my own, because really this is the first game I've ever put for sale. I mean, it was
Right.
the 7th game I'd ever made, but I've never made a commercial game before, and it was a huge learning experience for getting something up on a marketplace.
Right.
No. I
All
was
the
saying,
sales
I was
options.
saying,
Yeah,
I
you
was
were
saying
talking
rum.
about
I was saying rum's comment was terrible. Sorry, not
Oh.
the amount of money they made. Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna about that.
It was not.
Now, why wait so long to make something that's commercial? I mean, you obviously were the other like 7 games just like experimenting with just like building up your confidence and being able to put something out in the marketplace. Like,
Well,
you-
I mean, it's less
Sorry.
confidence, more just skill. I mean, I'm very new at all this. I don't have a programming background. A lot of this is just me sort of feeling my way through, and
Which is pretty
really-
awesome too, because I mean, it's definitely it's absolutely a I was going to think a much more flattering word than functional, but it starts with a C, the word I'm looking for. It's a very competent game.
Competent.
Competent game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Constipated.
It's constipated.
It's
well, that's just what you're getting from the art style. That's I'm saying no, actually, and I know this wasn't your intention, but this was the vibe that I got from the art style when I started playing it. That it was literally like the call center guy coming up after not enough sleep and too much coffee, sitting down at his desk, ready to hit the button, being like, "Here we go again."
Yeah.
And that's probably like his.
I don't feel so good. My world doesn't look
Yes,
so good.
his inner monologue, inner visual representation of the person on the other end of the line is, sort of this this pock-ridden 13-year-old, like,
Long hair, yeah.
It's like, why are you calling me? Go away.
Oh God,
You
yeah,
got a bunch of people comparing it to Dr. Katz.
yeah. And Dr.
Ooh,
Katz
yeah.
actually like animated, like those lines like
Yeah,
shifts.
it's
It's obviously
exactly.
redrawn every panel. I wasn't
Shivering.
so
Yeah, yeah,
talented.
No,
But yeah, like I mean, it's got a very jittery line style, which just was a complete accident. I actually drew. I mean, everyone says the game looks like something made in MS Paint,
That's
and
what
no,
I was
if it
about
was,
to say. I was about to make that joke. Yeah.
if it was made in MS Paint, then it would have. Like I mean, the tools I used are right in the game's credits. I don't understand why people are making this. MS Paint is not
Yeah,
among them.
you had GIMP in there, right?
The
yeah,
internet
it's-
is so kind.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if I make something in MS Paint, like everything's squares and circles, because it's the only thing I can really draw.
I don't know why everybody's saying it's MS Paint. These are photographs.
did you
This is how I
draw-
look.
Did you
This is
draw it with a mouse, or do you have like a?
I have this very cheap hand-me-down drawing tablet that I use.
Yeah, it's.
To actually do the
Have you
visual.
ever tried drawing anything with a mouse?
It doesn't
Even
work.
a
Not very
trackball.
fun.
Try making a
I think
straight
I have
line with a
a
trackball.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why there's not that many straight lines.
But I can't do straight lines even when I'm drawing with my hand. Like,
Yeah.
that's a joke. And like I don't know what, like I accidentally set some settings on so everything looked jittery, and so like even like relatively straight lines have some weird pixels all over the place, and it was like it was gauging like the tilt of the pen and modifying things. So the
Yeah.
lines like came out really weird, but I kind of liked how it
Yeah,
ended
it was
up.
kind of cool. Like, it's too bad you
Actually,
can't yeah.
I live streamed the whole process. I mean, I didn't think the game was going to explode, but yeah, there's like these 2 1-hour videos on my YouTube channel that's just me doing the art for this game.
Really?
And I can't believe people have actually watched it, but they have.
So then they should know firsthand it wasn't made in MS Paint. What's wrong with you people?
They spent
wrong
2
with you
hours.
people? You
Wow,
watched
that's a
the
fancy
video.
MS Paint.
I'm combing through the comments. So far, I like this one. It's just all caps. Guys, stop being such a fucking bitch. Bitch spelled without a T. $2 for this may be crap, but he got fires, bitches. Also without a T.
He got fires, bitch.
I want fires.
Remember, instead of bitch,
That's a power up in the game. I got fires. Bitch.
David, how are the fires?
I can respond to that.
Fires, bitch.
I found one here, and I love this one. I'm glad I found it again. This one is from a Steam account called Reggie Fils-Me. I like to think that it's actually Reggie from Nintendo.
It's gonna be awesome.
If
All
it's
right.
not his body is ready, I'm sure it's not.
Dramatic reading, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Funny, difficult, and true. This game does what it sets out to, which is to show you the struggle of being an employee dealing with idiots. You have to keep it together no matter how much you want to get snarky with them. Can you even beat this game? What is the meaning of life? All will be discovered within.
I really hope that's Reggie.
It's less a comment and more like advertising copy.
I know. You should just.
That's your box quote.
The way you read it, it kind of sounded like The Legend of Zelda. I get this call every day for the Wii U. It's like
I get this
fight against incoming callers. Ba-da-da-da. You got the master key.
You got the master douche.
So,
Master sin.
all right, we have to move on to the next segment. We're going to take a little break and come back with the stupid news. But what's your takeaway from all of this? Like, I mean, obviously you're probably. Well, actually, I don't know. I mean, are you already thinking about what you're going to do for your next project, or are you still sort of coming off of all of this nuttiness?
I've really been struggling with what I'm going to do next. I've been trying to get some stuff out.
A modern military first-person shooter could be a good.
That's a very popular genre. Yeah.
I hear this MMO thing is blowing up.
Oh yeah, those are super easy. I mean, they don't cost anything, right?
Oh, whatever.
You don't have to have server support afterwards. Just
one of the things that I have been working on, the writer of Apocalypse Later and myself are working on a sequel. It's a bit of it's a bit more long term project.
What is Apocalypse
Apocalypse
Later?
was my sixth game. It was the game I made before I get this college day, and it was done in 72 hours at the Toronto Game Jam last year.
Oh, cool.
And it's a little point and click adventure about a demon child named Gary who's supposed to end the world and is too lazy to be able to accomplish it.
Okay.
So
Very good.
the sequel basically is he's put on trial in hell for not ending the world as he was supposed to, and his mother, who is a character from the first game, has to either clear his name or get rich enough to buy her way through the court system,
All right.
or both.
That's awesome.
Or sell them out. Fuck it.
All right.
Don't get
Well put.
Mama
Good
Bear.
option.
Can I get a yacht out of this, or what am I doing?
And I completely forgot we're doing this show live for a second here. If any of you guys in the chat have any questions for Dave,
Then too
now's
bad.
the time.
Done.
Throw out a
Quince.
question if you
Yeah,
got
they're
one.
talking about hockey for some reason.
And
Well,
maple
we've got a
syrup.
Canadian guest. It's not
That's
really
true.
that.
Yeah, some reason there
not.
was a conversation with the Toronto Leafs in there.
We're Canadian, yeah. Rum and Mala are Canadian. We're outnumbered here.
Oh no.
Canadians to Americans. We know where our audience is from.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a bad Canadian, and sorry, people in the chat, but I don't give a fuck about hockey.
No.
Do you like
No.
beer?
No more listeners. Everyone.
Everybody leaves. Thanks for watching.
You're just a
You
moose
people
wrangler.
suck. You don't like hockey? That's a real man's sport. They punch people in that sport. They actually
hear
play a
punch.
game too.
As proud Americans, Jason and I are both huge fans of guns and American football
Yes,
and
of course.
invading Middle Eastern countries.
Well,
Wow. Okay. On that note, I think we're gonna take a break.
hey Brian, what do you want to do after the podcast?
Invade a country that doesn't speak English.
Yes.
It doesn't speak American.
Does Canada speak English?
No. Let's go.
With that,
Blame
with that,
Canada.
with that, I'll give you this uplifting, and this actually uplifting. This is not sarcastic for David, and I feel like this is a good takeaway. Well, this is from Hodge628 on Steam. Games like this are the future. Autobiographical, poetic response to our own mundane reality is an essential part of self-expression. I'd buy this game day one before some AAA game that doesn't really need my support.
Nice.
That was good. Yeah,
That's
entirely
deep.
true. Entirely
Profound even.
I think he's onto something about it being the future of games.
Yeah.
If any of you have read Rise of the Video Game Zinesters
Yes.
by Anna Anthropy, and if you
awesome.
haven't, get off this podcast and read it.
true. No, wait till the end of it.
No, after the podcast, listen to the whole thing.
She's basically talking
Listen to
about
this
video
podcast
games
again, even if
becoming
you're
a-
here right now.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I mean, she's basically talking about video games becoming a far more personal medium. And that's something I can definitely agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Like
you know,
all the games
people-
on Twine that are coming out nowadays.
Oh, God, yes. Twine's a
And
great
with the-
little tool.
Yeah.
And with the easier it is to publish and get this content out there, the easier it is to have smaller expressions done more frequently.
Exactly. I find like a personal expression, even if it's a small thing, far more valuable than most larger AAA experiences these days. So I'm
Yeah,
really honored.
It is interesting how the rise of the auteur or whatever you want to say
Yeah.
of not just having to have a massive budget and having to have this kind of very focus tested and very collaborative. I mean, it's fine. A kind of neat thing about video games is a lot of video game development is very collaborative, but it's interesting when now that it seems easier for game makers to make. This is a game for me. For me, basically, it's something about something very specific to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna put it out there, and whoever's interested in learning this.
And I think that's a really interesting point because the one thing that I forgot to to mention earlier in this segment was the whole idea that you hear a lot of other mediums writing or making films or making songs about what you know.
Right.
Like, you
Yeah.
should write about what you know.
That's a good point.
And in the video game industry, it seems like a lot of that becomes...
there are a lot of bald space marines in the video game industry.
and they have really tough times with people on phones.
It's an important
They're the worst call
demographic.
center people ever. They just shoot the phone. Anyway, my point is... God damn it. Wait, and let me just stop and say this. When did everybody get a free Tell Rob to fuck off card? Like, what is going on with this podcast?
Handed them out before the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you weren't there.
I didn't get one.
I'll email it to you.
So you have everybody, you know, when
Message
you're
sent.
when you're talking about making games based off stuff you know, you find a lot of developers or even independent developers making abstract stories about stuff that you know, it inspired me to make this that
Right.
kind of ends up looking like one of the Pixel Junk games, and it has no resemblance to real life or something like that. And this is actually a game that is an exact representation of real events.
Yeah.
That
well, not exact, but you know.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
but a lot closer than.
closer to a Law and Order than, let's say, a Castle. You know.
Okay, sure.
Like
sure.
it's actually, you know, based off of, well, you know what I'm trying to say. Like
Yeah.
there's you could see this happening. Like
Right.
you could see the office space scene of this
Sure.
happening.
Sure.
Which I think is an interesting thing because there aren't that many games like that you see. You know, it's like
No, there really
you know,
aren't.
Retro City Rampage is not inspired by real life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As good as that game is, and I suggest everybody go play it.
I don't know. I would say that game is influenced by my early life, which was mostly spent
Oh,
playing
shut
those
up,
types of
Boris.
games.
Dave, where can they get your game, sir?
My website is davidsgallant.com. You can buy it. I've got a nice swanky humble widget now.
Yeah,
'Cause
I like
it's,
that. When
yeah.
did that come up after like everything exploded?
Yeah, I kind of wish I had that in place a lot earlier because Humble pays at a way better rate than the place that I was selling the game the first time. So
I thought that was great. Like I just right there, it had like you had Amazon payments and yeah.
yeah,
That's
Humble.
awesome.
The Humble guys, they know what they're doing. I think if you are making a game and want to sell it, then Humble is the people you should be talking to.
Nice.
So you can get it there. It's also available on Desura and Indievania. Both are good sites. You know, I get money regardless of where you pay. Obviously, if you're paying on my direct site, if you want to pay more than $2, then you can. Otherwise, it's just a straight $2 purchase. And
That's worth it.
So what you're trying to say is
It's
pay
got
$100.
Saying, pay me
This game
all
is
the
worth
dollars
at
you
least
can.
$1,000.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Money is good. All right, guys. On
So
that
save
note,
up $5,000.
we're going to be back with
5,000.
more David S. Gallant right after this break and more podcast. But in the meantime, we are going to take a quick break, grab some water, do what we got to do over here, and we'll be back with more CrashCast Live right after this. Thanks for watching, and don't go